I have to remember to hit record.
Let's try that. Should we do the introduction?
All right. Welcome everyone to Vote 16, a national dialogue on lowering the voting age in Canada from 18 to 16. And we're looking at a month of amazing conversations, both with guest speakers, youth leaders, yourselves, and all this crazy, amazing dialogue about what should we do in our country? Where should our country head? What does democracy and reform to democratic processes really look like? I want to thank Senator McPhedran and her office for championing this new idea and a way of thinking of how youth can contribute and should contribute to our society. We're so excited to have all of you to join us today from coast to coast to coast. It's going to be an amazing few weeks of conversation. Now, as you know, we'll have both synchronous meetings, so meetings like this, and we hope as many of you as possible can come and share your thoughts and what you've been thinking about and what you've been learning about and what you've been talking to your friends and your family about. And then we'll also have the online component that I'll show you again in a little bit here, that is a way for you to digest what we talk about, think about other things, other readings, videos, other items that we've shared on our classroom, and then share your own opinion of them. So there'll be written stuff, and there'll also be online dialoguing stuff with guest speakers from all over Canada. And we're so excited to have you involved. Now, I have my friend here, our guest, Terry Godwalt, who's going to be joining us. And he really, with Senator McPhedran, champions this idea of our project today. Did you want to introduce yourself?
Well, absolutely. So my name is Terry Godwalt, and I am so very excited to be here today and to be able to listen to the conversations that are going on. Friends, it reminds me, I was sharing earlier, for those of you who hadn't arrived yet, that when I got into the school this morning, I sat with two assistant principals, and one of them was like, "Oh, that's so awesome. What a great project." And the second of them was like, "Oh, really? Do you think that's a good idea?" You know, it reminded me back to when there was another project similar to this, where we brought 8 countries together and we appeared before UNESCO, the United Nations Education, Science and Culture Organization. And these young people did a very similar project to this. And when they went to this global meeting, which was actually in Ottawa, they were there with a special exception. And it was a special exception because young people under 18 actually aren't even allowed to attend the event, even though this event was about education, right? And so they were talking about how to do schooling differently and yet not having dialogues with youth. And at the end of these young people's presentation, we had director generals from UNESCO from across the planet stand up with tears in their eyes and apologize. Friends, they apologized for how they had not considered the voice of young people just like you. They didn't realize that young people can deal with complex issues. They didn't realize that young people from such diverse places across the planet would be able to come together and wrestle with these concepts and hold differing perspectives and come to the end, not necessarily with one opinion, because there is as many opinions as there are people. And the power of the work that the young people shared at that global meeting was the fact that young people's voice is incredibly important, and they need to not just sit on the outside, but rather they need to outside board tables or sit on the sidewalks but rather they need to come in and they need to be a part of that dialogue. And that's what I understand this is going to be all about. It's about demonstrating to those who are in positions of power in Canada, whether that's our parents, whether that's our peers, whether that's our assistant principals or our leaders in Parliament, that young people need to be a part of this dialogue, and that together as a country, whether you are 16, whether you are 26, or whether you are 86, together we can create a better, stronger, more vibrant, more inclusive democracy, and one that has a place for all voices, and most especially yours who are here. So thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you, Senator McPhedran, for facilitating this incredible dialogue. I could not be more excited to see the amazing work that these young people are going to do.
It should be a fantastic conversation. So what we'd like to do is have a chance for you to introduce yourselves. We're from all across the country. It'd be wonderful to know some of our schools, some of our cities. So we're going to give you each of just 30 seconds or a little bit longer if you need, but no more than a minute to say where you're joining from, what your school name is, and maybe something interesting about your community. That would be wonderful. So we're going to go east to west. And so our Newfoundland school at the Exploits Valley Intermediate, you are our first to go. And then, so we have Newfoundland, we have Nova Scotia will be next. We have, oh, let me go over to, we have so many schools, wonderful, 15 communities represented on this dialogue. So we're going to go Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, and then Quebec, and then we'll continue from there. So over to you, Newfoundland.
All right, so let's see, our Newfoundland friends who are here, there we see, now we see that your microphone is muted.
So I've asked you to unmute. There you go.
We can hear you. Go ahead. Say hello. Tell us who you are. Excellent. So Newfoundland, we're going to come back to you in a little bit of a minute. We hear you, which is awesome. But we just kind of heard some noise in the background as opposed to anyone really doing an introduction.
So someone might need to have to come up closer to the microphone that I know they've set up right close. We're gonna jump over to Nova Scotia now. All right, Jamal and Arun, there you are, yeah.
So I'm gonna have to share computers because mine's not working really well right now. But I'm Jamal, and I go to NECA. I'm interested in this. I hope to study law in the future, getting all that university application stuff done right now. So I'm busy with that, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this, and I'm excited to meet all of you.
My name's Erin. I also go to NECA, and I want to do political science at university, so this kind of topic I feel like is very important and would add to helping me learn more about that. So I'm really excited to be a part of this and stuff, and excited to meet everybody.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
Yeah, let's have a little bit of a round of applause. Well done. It takes a lot of courage to sit up in front of the rest of the country and say hello. Great job, Nova Scotia.
All right, Newfoundland, have you elected someone to speak on your behalf? So we'll come back to you when I see someone standing near the microphone. How about that? Wonderful. Okay, over to our friends in Quebec. Hello, Quebec.
Am I the only one? I'm not sure.
I think you might be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ryan Ruddick. I'm an English teacher at Westmount High and the advanced placement coordinator, and I teach grade 11 and grade 9. And I'm at home today, but I'm hoping to involve some of my classes in the work that you guys are doing. And I think it's so inspiring to see so many students participating. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ryan. So, oh, wonderful, all right, Maisie, all right. So many of our schools, and we understand that you as well, the timing of these every Monday from it's 10 a.m. Mountain Time, so 9 a.m. Pacific to 10 a.m. or noon to 1 in Eastern Canada, that it might conflict, and that maybe today's the only one you can make it to, or maybe next week, or maybe you can only come to the last half, and we welcome you to join as you can. We'll be recording all of these and putting them online. And so, as Ryan sort of demonstrated, some of his students aren't able to make it today, but maybe they'll come to another week, and we'll have this conversation where sometimes we're able to participate and other times we'll watch the video and participate later. But we welcome all the ways in which you're able to share your opinions and your knowledge and sort of contribute to this conversation. So we're gonna go to Ottawa, and then to Toronto, de La Salle, and then if I saw that Bishop Strachan had joined as well, so maybe we'll give them a chance as well. So first to Ottawa, and then to de La Salle and Toronto. Hello, Ottawa. All right, I'm not sure if our students is joined in from, okay, we're gonna skip to I'm not sure if Bishop De La Salle was able to make as well, but Rita, if you'd like to introduce Bishop Strachan, we can also come back to De La Salle. If you're from De La Salle or you're from Ottawa, Lisgar, just give us a little wave.
Yeah, we have Shanna who is here from Ottawa. And so Shanna, just write us a little
Shanna,
note
there
if
you
you want to do an introduction. Otherwise, we can continue on.
Hi, my name is Shauna. I work with Senator McPhedran, and I am so glad to be a part of this team and a part of this beautiful event, and hope to see you soon.
Wonderful. Let's pop over to Rita now with Bishop Strachan.
Hi, everyone. My name's Rita. I'm from the Bishop Strawn School. My class is starting in 5 to 10, at 12:25, but I'm logged on now. So they will be joining. They're just moving from class to class. We're really excited to be here. As Sarah said, we can attend some of these sessions, but this one's a one that they're really interested in. We're just looking at the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and just spent some time looking at democratic rights. And this was one of the topics that we had discussed as to whether or not we should be lowering the voting age. And there's some interesting perspectives in my class on this issue. So looking forward to this.
We're looking forward to seeing your students. Wonderful. So it looks as though our Newfoundland school has got their mic problem solved and they're ready to jump in. And then we're going to go up to Inuksuq. All right, Newfoundland. Over to our friends. Oh, is the mic issue not resolved as expected? All right, we're gonna hop up to Inuksuq then. I'm gonna ask you guys to unmute. Yep. Oh, they're getting themselves, I see waving. You're muted. Oh no. All right, we'll try to come back to our friends in Inuksuq. All right, I can see them waving though. All right, Mariah in Winnipeg, I know that your microphone has worked, so I tested with you. How are you doing?
My name's Mariah, I'm from Winnipeg. My friend Lizzie is here with me today. We have a teacher that's coming, but he has a meeting. But I'm really excited and humbled to be back and to be working with Taking It Global again. And this is such an important topic in my life because social issues are becoming more and more relevant in youth today. So I'm really excited to be part of this initiative.
Wonderful, thank you so much, Mariah. We're so glad to have you back. All right, and now John in Pincher Creek, would you like to have your students say hello? Maya, I see you're here. There you go.
Hi, I'm Maya. I'm a grade 9 student at Crow's Nest Consolidated High School, and I am super excited to do this thing, like to change the voting. And yeah, thank you for having me here.
Wonderful, thank you. And now our friend from Chestermere, I know I saw you as well. Would you like to introduce? Yes.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Alexia. I'm in grade 11 and I go to the Learning Center in Chestermere, and I'm really excited to be able to be part of this project and learn about everybody else's perspectives and hear so many different sides to everything and just see what everybody comes up with in the end.
Thank you. And Peyton, would you like to say hello as well? From Calgary.
Hi, I'm Peyton. I go to Springbank High School, but I'm doing online for grade 10. And I was really excited to volunteer for this project.
Wonderful, thank you, Peyton. And now we're going to go to West Island College, also in Calgary.
Okay, so I think Sophie's going to give a land acknowledgement and then another Sophie's going to talk. So Sophie Theriault, you can go ahead.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Okay, good. So hi, I'm Sophie from West Island College. And I would like to firstly take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Piikani First Nation, the Siksika First Nation, the Kaurna First Nation, the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, and the Tsuut'ina First Nation. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3.
Hi there. So we all attend West Island College and we're all in grade 9 and we're doing this as an extracurricular option and we're super excited to be here.
And it's so extracurricular that today is their PD day and they're joining from home. I mean, other people are joining from home too because of COVID, but they're joining from home on a PD day at that. So welcome, West Island College. You guys are real troopers. We love that you're here to join us today. Thank you. So I know that our friends from Newfoundland are back, but we're going to keep going across the West and hop back to them at the end. So next up is our friends in Nelson, BC. Tamara, would you like to just, yeah, there you go.
Sorry about that. Good morning, I'm Tamara Martin. I am the teacher librarian at LV Rogers Secondary School in Nelson. All of our students are in classes at this time, so I'm just representing and they'll be watching the recordings later.
Wonderful. Now, not everyone knows as Nelson is my alma mater, which is how I strong-armed them into being involved in this project. Sometimes it's so nice to hear from large towns. We were saying this early, that it's so important that this isn't a conversation that's happening in Ottawa and Vancouver and Toronto, that it's happening in small towns across the country. It's happening in Chestermere, it's happening in Nelson, it's happening in Inukshuk High School in Iqaluit, that these are all of our communities together, that all of your opinions matter. And I'm so happy that we're able to welcome you. So now we're going to go to Edison in Vancouver. Are you our representative? Love to hear, yeah.
Hi, actually there are 3 of us here.
Okay, over to you guys. Oh, I think you have another device. You're gonna have to mute the other computer. There you go.
And then also turn the speaker right off so that you only have one speaker going at a time.
Is that better?
I think that'll work.
Is that better?
Yeah, there you go. Okay,
right.
Edison.
Oh, hello. There are 3 of us joining.
The camera's kind of like narrow. I'll flip it. I'm Edison.
And I'm Ethan. Hello.
We're all from West Point Grey Academy. We're grade 12 students and grade 11 students respectively. All 3 of us are extremely excited to be here to talk about the Vote Leading Dialogue. We're really happy to have this chance. We look forward to working with everyone across Canada.
Thanks so much, guys. All right, last school, back to Newfoundland. Let's hear from you. Welcome, Newfoundland.
Hi, my name is Max Cooper. I'm in grade 9 from Exploits Valley Intermediate, and this is everybody else who's going to be joining us the next month or so.
So wonderful. Thank you so much. And so today we took a little bit longer to do the introductions because I think it's so great to see that it's not just you, that we want to hear from all of you and that we are across the country and that we aren't all going to agree. We're going to have different opinions, we're going to have different thoughts on this issue, but that we're here together in a community and we're supporting each other as we do this learning. And it's hard time, it's a hard time. I'm just gonna, someone's muted. But that we want you to participate as much as you can. We want to hear all of your voices and welcome to this amazing project. We have 2 wonderful speakers here joining us today. Senator McPhedran, who is sponsoring this project, sponsoring the bill. And then we have Maisie Evans joining us from Wales. And she's a youth leader there who's been just so passionate about this project as well. And so I'm gonna first do our land acknowledgement here in Edmonton. So I'm joining you from Treaty 6 land, which is the traditional territory of the Dene, Sioux, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Cree, Métis people, and many First Nations people who walked here before. And I think doing land acknowledgements across Canada, I know Maisie probably isn't familiar with the land acknowledgements, but here in Canada, we're going through a process of reconciliation. And we're really, how do we bring that process into our everyday lives? How do we make it meaningful? So it's not just something that we say at the beginning of a class or at the beginning of an event, but it's something that's made meaningful. And I think within the context of Vote 16, it's the idea of bringing in voices, bringing in multiple perspectives, hearing people who aren't normally heard. And for reasons of systemic reasons or reasons of opportunity, but how do we reach everyone and hear those voices and celebrate those stories, those lived experiences, those opinions, because they all matter. And we need to build reconciliation as a process that we're doing every day and we're engaging in multiple ways. And so welcome to everyone. And I'm glad that I'm able to do that acknowledgement. Now, Senator McPhedran, I'd love to turn the floor over to you and Maisie to introduce yourselves and to engage in a conversation of why this is an important topic today. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you so much, Sarah and Terry. I'm just wondering, did I miss the introduction from Iqaluit?
Oh, there was some waving. Let's see if we can.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, you can hear you. Please.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, yes, please.
Oh, good. Okay, actually, we have a couple of people here. Nadia, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I see pizza.
Yeah, it's lunchtime here. Actually, Jafar, you want to go?
Hello, we are Niksha Kai in the Iqaluit Nunavut and our grade 11 class with grade 12 invites and are very excited for this opportunity to be a part of this project.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad we were able to get you on.
As am I. Can everybody hear me okay?
Sound great.
Checking, yeah. So in addition to my really heartfelt thanks to the Center for Global Education, Terry and Sarah, and also Taking IT Global, for Michael right at the beginning was the person that I went to ask how best to connect through technology. And this has been an excellent working experience. With me on the call, you've met Shanna, member of my team. I think I also have Jasmine, who's on the call as well. And we have a number of youth advisors that are already members of my youth advisory. But I'm very much hoping that after we've had this dialogue and while we're having this dialogue, that many of you will feel that you have an interest in becoming mobilizers in your local communities, in your local schools, to work with us, to work with my team, and become a youth advisor on this bill. I'm very honored to be an independent senator. My home province is Manitoba, which is Treaty 1 territory, and is also considered to really be the heartland, the homeland of the Métis Nation. Louis Riel, whom Canada killed, hung, was an elected member of Parliament on 2 occasions. And both times when he came to Ottawa to take his rightful legal place as an elected representative of people from Manitoba, he was denied entry to the building. And a lot of what has motivated my team, my youth advisors, myself in bringing this bill, it's the first time that a bill to lower the federal voting age has started in the Senate of Canada. There have been attempts in the House of Commons. But with this bill, in many ways, it addresses exclusion. And sometimes we see exclusion as extreme in the way that the example I've just given to you about the founder of the Métis Nation, Louis Riel. And other times it's more subtle, more systemic. And not allowing Canadians at the age of 16 to vote is actually a big question in terms of whether there's even actually the legal authority to deny that. There is no age for voting in Canada. There is no age restriction in the Constitution of Canada. And the qualifications to vote in Canada are that you are capable of understanding the decision you have to make, and you are a citizen of Canada. Those are the requirements. So being able to come into the parliamentary process and begin the process of trying to bring in a new law that would bring the voting age for federal elections down to the age of 16 is very much motivated by a desire for greater inclusion. But it doesn't stop there, because I and many others, including a lot of the researchers that have been looking into this whole question of whether 16-year-olds are really capable of knowing what is involved if they are going to cast a vote in something as important as our national election. You know, the research in the last 10 years has increased, and it is much clearer now than it was all those other times when the attempt was made to lower the federal voting age to 16 through a bill that started in the House of Commons. So I really feel that the kind of inclusion that Vote 16 represents is about our democracy. Canada is a constitutional democracy, and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is embedded within the Constitution Act of Canada. And there's nothing that legal scholars can find that would stop parliamentarians from deciding to change the law and lower the federal voting age to 16. You're going to hear from wonderful Maisie, who will tell you about the leadership of youth, of young people in Wales that succeeded in making this change, and some of the advisory work that's ongoing, and the way in which the inclusion of younger people between the ages of 16 to 18 is a way to revitalize our democracy. When older people mostly ask me why I would possibly want to put so much time and energy into this, I have been answering them in the last few months by saying, there are many reasons, and there is very solid research to support this. But in addition to that, COVID-19 has exposed huge gaps, socioeconomic gaps, much greater burdens being carried by BIPOC people in our society in Canada, and the debts that we're talking about, which I believe we needed to take this on as a country, because the single most important asset, the single most effective investment for us as a country is our people. And the debts, though, it's not my generation that's going to have to carry and deal with these debts for a very long time. We are coming to a close in the next few years of our positions of leadership. This is going to fall on your young shoulders. And so for parliamentarians to have built up these responsibilities and then not to acknowledge that the generation of the 16 to 18-year-olds really need to have a genuine voice and a significant, substantial role in the decision-making for our country as a nation. So I'm going to stop it there, because this is about hearing you and responding to you. I just want to thank every single person that's come onto this call. We'll give you more information about contacting us to become more involved in the campaign if you wish. And I wanted to show off one thing that I just picked up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, from a young designer in Winnipeg, where my principal residence is, that he created for the Vote 16 campaign.
So cool.
We'll have some of these available for mobilizers and other supporters. They're not finished yet. There's a process, but I'm very excited to be able to introduce it. And now it's time for me to listen. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Thank you so much, Senator McPhedran, and thank you for the leadership on this. And I can't wait to see how youth respond to the call and how they take up this action, whether it be in support or in resistance, or the conversations that we'll have around this issue over the next few weeks. So thank you so much for help facilitating this event. Now I'd like to invite Maisie Evans, who is a member of the Welsh Youth Parliament. She was part of the group there that really made the change as reaching out to their local community, the youth, to lower the voting age there. She's a student at Welsh Medium Secondary School in South Wales, and she's very strong about youth engagement and politics and the rights of the child. She likes math and science, but outside of school, she promotes her voice through various platforms such as St. John Ambulance. But today she's here to talk to you about the journey she went on as they lowered the voting age in Wales. So I'm gonna see if I know, there she is, Maisie, how are you doing this morning? Well, I guess it's evening for you.
Yeah, obviously I'm in Wales, so it's now 4:37 for me. And guys, it is amazing to see so many of you on the call. I was not expecting this. I've spoken to Sarah a few times and Senator McFedrin, but wow, I'm shocked to see so many of you, so it's lovely. And I'm so sorry if you can't understand my accent and the fact that I'm living up to British stereotypes with my cup of tea here. It's true, we love our tea. It really is a pleasure to be here. And so yeah, my name is Maisie. I've just turned 17 years old, so I'm probably a similar age to a lot of you. And like Sarah said, I'm a member of Wales's first ever youth parliament. So that gives me the platform to influence real change in our parliament here in Wales, which is incredible. And you may not know this, but Wales at the moment is under national lockdown as a result of COVID. And so I obviously have a say in those sort of decisions. So it's awesome to have such a high platform and to be able to influence those kind of decisions. And obviously this is all about Votes at 16, so I won't ramble too much about the other work that I do. But in terms of Votes at 16, I guess I take a bit of credit for that in Wales. I worked for a few years in the run-up to implementing Votes at 16 in Wales with various organisations to try and make it happen. I've always been really passionate about it, and I met somebody a few years ago who was equally as passionate, and with their help we managed to pass the bill in Wales, which was incredible. It came into effect in June this year amid a pandemic, which is quite something. And I guess we're proud of that as well as the legislation itself. And so yeah, again, I guess I'll talk to you a bit about the process and try to empower you guys as young people to do what I did. I was lucky in Wales that our members of the Parliament, of the Senedd, we call it, they were eager to implement this, and they were sort of on our side. But the force definitely came from us as young people. We really pushed for it, and without young people pushing for it, it won't happen. Because we need to prove to all those people in Parliament that we want this, and we don't want it to be a failure when it happens. In Wales, the next election is in May, and so I guess May will be our time to shine as young people, and we'll get to prove that we deserve these votes. We deserve to be included in voting, and so I look forward to that. Because we worked hard, we campaigned, we researched, we did so much, and I guess that's what it was all about. The research, that was definitely, it sort of set the foundation for our work. Knowing that young people actually wanted Votes at 16, knowing that there was that passion, and knowing that people were ready to push for it in Parliament, that's what made it happen. And with the help of certain organisations, it did. And so for you guys as young people in Canada, I would say prove to people that this is what you want. Don't just sort of say it once or twice. You need to keep going. You need to irritate those people who disagree with you. You need to get on their nerves, and you need to tell them how much you really, really want Votes at 16. So Sarah, I don't know what your plan is here. Have you got time for questions? I mean, how's this gonna go? What do we want to do?
We'd love to open it up for questions with both you and Senator McFedrin.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So perhaps if you would like to ask a question, maybe just give a wave and we'll put you up, or we'll make sure that you get unmuted. So I'll start it off though, Maisie. Perhaps you can tell us like how has maybe education or the conversation in schools, how has that changed now that you've been granted this right to vote? Because there's sort of the responsibility now is to be educated and aware of these issues and the topics that you're voting on. And how does maybe the conversation shifted in schools, I mean, even amongst your friends around these issues?
Well, I guess amid a pandemic, it's been difficult to have those conversations in school. I guess people's priorities are laying in different places, but amongst my friends, it's definitely shifted. And just a few days ago, I was speaking to some of my friends in school about politics, and it's the first time that's ever happened because we don't tend to see that sort of interest amongst young people, unfortunately. And so my friends have definitely become more aware. And as for education, that's something that I've also been pushing for, and I continue to push for, because obviously we can't give young people the vote without having some form of framework that teaches them exactly what they're voting for. And so that's something that I'm really passionate about, is sort of political education and sort of citizenship education. Because I myself, as someone who's extremely politically engaged, has only just discovered what citizenship really means and what it means to be a citizen of the United Kingdom, of the European Union at this point, and of Wales. And so I guess that education is crucial. So guys, when you're promoting Votes at 16, make sure you ask for political education too. I'm not sure what you get in school, but we in Wales don't have any political education at all. Until we get to what we call A levels, so my age, 16 to 18, we don't even have the option to learn about politics. So I guess for people younger than me, there's still not that sort of education in place, but it's something that we're still pushing for, and we will continue to push for until we get it.
Wonderful. All right. Oh, who has the first question for our wonderful speaker, Maisie or Senator McPhedran? Feel free also to post questions in the chat. If you're a little embarrassed to unmute and ask in person, we can take any of that come in through the chat.
I promise I don't bite. I've just had my dinner, so feel free to ask anything you'd like.
Well, I'm gonna see if you'd like, you can also raise your hand. There's the raise the hand function. So before I see Alexia and Stamir has a question.
I bet you hear talking in the background, but how long did it take you for the whole process from when you first started, decided that you wanted to make a change till the time that it was changed for you to be able to vote? So if it ended in June, when did you first start the process?
Okay, so I got involved around 2 years ago now, actually. It was in the September of 2018. And so I was quite lucky that the conversation had already started. I guess I was in your position. And so 2 years, or just under 2 years from when I started to get involved. And through that time, it was really full on. I became a member of the Youth Parliament, so I was democratically elected. And from then on, I worked tirelessly to lobby my local representatives to make them do it, basically. So yeah, just under 2 years, I'd say. But try and beat us. Do it quicker if you'd like.
How long will you be a member of the Youth Parliament?
Well, actually, my term should be ending in about 10 days. But because of COVID, I think they're extending our terms because we haven't quite had the chance to finish our work in the way that we've wanted to. So yeah, probably until early 2021, depending on how this strange virus plays out.
Yeah. Okay, so I know we have a question at West Point Grey, and then also Maya and Crow's Nest has asked as well. But why don't we go to West Point, Vancouver? You guys can ask yours first, and then we'll go to Maya's. Vancouver, over to you.
What were the various barriers to trying to pass the bill in Wales? What were the forms of opposition there?
Great question.
Interesting. There were a lot of people who disagreed with Vote 16 for various reasons. People thought that young people were too immature, that they lacked the education, which I agree with. I've not always been totally convinced that every young person can vote. And that, I guess, is my argument for political education. So I think that was one of the biggest barriers, was people who disagreed. A lot of people thought that maybe they would take after their parents, which I've always thought is complete rubbish, because surely a young person would rebel against their parents. Am I right? I know I do. I don't agree with my parents' political views at all. And so I guess those sort of arguments, which I'm sure you've all heard, were the barriers. And then obviously our parliament as well. There were a few that didn't agree, that actually voted against the legislation, but a majority won. So that's all that matters, really, isn't it?
Wonderful. So I know Maya here has a question, and it might be more for Senator McPhedran. And what are the next steps in the bill?
Maya, thank you so much for the question. The bill is actually, this time around, it is, and we've just started a new session of Parliament. We're in the 43rd Parliament. So there have been 43 gatherings, parliamentary gatherings in Canada's history. And this is what's called the second session of the 43rd Parliament. And the bill is now called Bill S. And the reason a capital S is in front of it is because it's starting in the Senate. And then it's a dash, and it's 209. So for as long as we're in this session of this Parliament, that is how the bill will be titled. Any law in Canada first has to receive the agreement, majority agreement, in both of our houses of our Parliament. The elected members of Parliament in our House of Commons and the appointed senators in our Senate of Canada, because we have a bicameral democracy, constitutional democracy. So the next step is a speech that I will give soon in the Senate, where I will explain the importance of Bill S-209, and I will respond to a number of the different concerns that different senators have raised with me, and be able to share with them in my speech the research. So we're no longer in the area where it's my opinion against their opinion, or my belief in young people versus their having big doubts about the capacity of young people. This is really much more now a sharing of the evidence. As I mentioned, the recent research in this area very strongly supports the capacity of young people aged 16 to 18 to have the brain maturity and the emotional maturity that's required to cast a vote. Now, I've had a number of different scenarios set out for me, which I will try to respond to when I give my speech. And then after I give my speech, which is what's called second reading of this bill, other senators who either support or have questions about the bill will have the opportunity to speak as well. So one of the very first speakers that I know is going to step forward and say yes to this bill is the Olympian, the athlete in Canada, who has won more gold medals than any athlete ever in Canada's history. Her name is Senator Chantal Petitclerc, and I just had a note this morning saying that she will absolutely speak in favor of Bill S-209. Another senator that I know is going to get up right away and speak in favor of the bill is Senator Rob Black from Ontario, who has spent his life in 4-H. the organization that reaches across. I was a member of 4-H when I was growing up in Manitoba, in rural Manitoba. And he's going to talk about all the young people that he's worked with in the agricultural sector of Canada, in small communities across this country, and how much they are already leaders in their communities and why they are ready to take on this responsibility. So it will go like that for an undetermined period of time until the various senators that want to speak in favor have a chance to get on the record and say why they're going to vote in support of this bill. Then it will need to be reviewed in what's called a standing committee. So we have many different committees that senators sit on, and senators call witnesses, mostly through technology now. And that committee will look much more closely at the bill and call witnesses to be able to speak one way or the other about the bill. And then the senators that sit on that committee will make a report, and they will take a vote. And if a majority of the senators on the committee support the bill, and if, for example, they think there should be certain amendments to the bill, then they will put that in the report, they will vote on it, and if the majority say, yes, we should go forward and we should change the law to lower the voting age to 16, it will come back into the Senate, and it will be ready for what we call third reading, which allows for more speeches, allows for amendments and votes on amendments. And then when that is finished and we have what is considered to be the best possible bill from the perspective of all those various senators, it will go to a vote. And if it passes in the Senate, it will be carried over into the House of Commons. And there will be a member of Parliament in the House of Commons who will take my place and become the sponsor of the bill in the elected House of Commons. And they will go through a similar process to what I just described in the Senate. This is what's called a private member's bill. So that means that I, as an individual senator, initiated this bill. And that becomes a really big challenge and frankly, a barrier in getting this bill to a vote in the House of Commons. Because the House of Commons is organized along, as you know, along party lines. And often all the members of one particular political party will be told that they have to vote a certain way and they have to speak a certain way. And there is concern in the House of Commons that the Conservative members of Parliament may not support this bill. And they may not be given the freedom to speak as individuals. So you may be represented by a Conservative member of Parliament, for example. It becomes really important in this time period while the bill is in the Senate. If you're willing to reach out to your elected representatives in the way that Maisie was describing and speak to them. And we will provide you from my office the summary of all the research that we've gathered, so that when they say things like, and this is what I've been hearing, to be honest with you, way more people have been positive about this bill than negative. But the people that are negative say pretty much the same thing. They say it's too young. Their brains aren't developed enough to be able to know what it is that they're doing. And when they say that, I say, well, you know, that's your opinion. But the research doesn't support that opinion. The research that looks at how the brain of a 16-year-old has developed by the time they reach that age, the part of the brain that we use to make the kind of decision that goes into a vote is already developed. And this is often called cold cognition. And it's interesting to me how often when I summarize the research, and I point out that this is research that's been done in Denmark, in Austria, that Austria lowered the voting age to 16 more than 13 years ago, in 2007. And a lot of the research has been done just in the last 10 years, but they are looking at what's really going on. And it's, for the most part, the outcomes of the research are very positive. Just to the point that was raised in one of the questions and Maisie's answer about education, about the assumption that young people 16 to 18 would have no way of making a decision themselves, and that they would do whatever their parents told them. That's not what the research shows us. And this is after lots of 16 to 18-year-olds have been interviewed and the situation in their families has been looked at. In fact, one of the findings from some of the research is that 16 to 18-year-olds that are still at home actually mobilize their parents and other family members that are able to vote, and the level of political participation increases because of the interest and the commitment of the 16 to 18-year-olds. Now, there are always exceptions to these, and I don't try to shout down anybody who says, oh, that's just crazy. Why would you do that? But I also point out that many of the arguments that I'm hearing today about youth, 16 to 18-year-olds, and why they shouldn't be able to vote, they're kind of the same arguments that were used 70 years ago, 60 years ago, 50 years ago, opposing women getting the right to vote. And so we really have to look at the difference between a prejudice, an opinion that is really based in stereotypes or prejudice, and the research, the evidence. So that's the process, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to keep tabling the evidence, speaking to the evidence, bringing young leaders in to speak directly to senators, and then hopefully to speak directly to members of parliament, and try to get this bill to the point where the government, what I'm hoping, is that if enough members of the cabinet and the government hear from young leaders who are so impressive, that they themselves will decide that this is something that the government of Canada, that Prime Minister Trudeau's government wants to do, because two good reasons for this that exist right now, with more reasons coming. One, lowering the federal voting age to 16 is actually official policy of the Liberal Party of Canada, the government we currently have, and it is also official policy of the New Democratic Party of Canada. And if the Liberals and the NDP in the House of Commons voted together yes to Bill S-209 to lower the federal voting age to 16, we've got it. So they would be completely consistent with what is their existing policy. And I think that often we just need to remind members of parliament that they already have a really good platform to be able to move ahead and be positive about this. Thanks for the question.
All right, now I know we have a question from Toronto and Calgary and Winnipeg, and so we might, it's already on the hour, and so we might end up going a little bit over. But before we go to those questions, sorry, Toronto, I'm just gonna, I know I said I'd go to you next, but I'm just gonna interrupt for a second, because the senator's piece was so important that if any schools need to leave, I wanna make sure that we have a chance to quickly talk about the project itself. So we're bringing you all together, but there's an online component. I'm going to share my screen quickly here with you for a second. And it's the virtual classroom. And so here you will be given a code and a link to log in. And you can see that some students are already online, introducing themselves through the first activity, which is just a welcome. And where you sort of, I see Nikita is here, and Mariah's put hers up, wonderful. And it's a way of introducing yourself. But over the next few weeks, we'll be going through and creating blogs, creating art, creating videos, however you want to represent your thoughts, your opinions, and posting them on these online classroom. Not all of these activities are mandatory. I want you to pick one that you feel really passionate about. I really want to talk about how this is similar to other universal suffrages, or I really want to think about and talk about how I want to get the message out in my school, whether it be through an infographic or a video or a social media campaign. So I'd like you to come onto our classroom, create and post a blog, and then in conversations, we'll be able to talk to each other. bring this all together. At the very end, those of you that are super, super passionate, you're all leaders already now on this project. But those of you that have a special interest and want to stay involved, we're going to collate all these thoughts, all these opinions, and create a paper that we're going to provide to Senator McPhedran that talks about what are the goals of Canadian youth are, what our concerns are, what our voice is, all the things that you will write this paper, and we will bring together all of the blog postings, all of the art in order to do that. So we need your words on this paper. We need to provide Senator McPhedran the ammunition she needs to be able to pass this through with her colleagues. And so it's vitally important that you're not only participating here, that you're participating online in those conversations. And so I just wanted to do the piece to make sure that you were all there, all getting your voices heard, because we might not be able to ask questions every week because there's so many people. But and though these meetings will be much more, I mean, today was a lot of listening, because we were introducing each other, introducing the topic, but we really do want these to be conversational, and those activities will form that basis of the of our conversation with our guest speakers who will come each week. All right, so that was my plug for the classroom. Please get online, start sharing. If you don't want to, if you want to jump to activity 3, jump to activity 3. We're here to see what you best are passionate about and have thoughts on, and any form of knowledge is great. So I know that I'm gonna jump to Toronto now. I know they had the next question and they were standing, oh, there, she just took a seat. I know she was standing by the microphone, so patiently waiting. So we'll try to wrap this up for sure by 10 after the hour. And if you need to leave in the meantime, we totally understand, and we'll see you next week online. But over to you, Toronto, in the meantime.
Thank you. We just had a question for Senator McPhedran on if she plans to implement further political education into the public school system specifically, along with lowering the voting age, just to make sure that the people who are going to be voting are educated on the different parties and policies that they are going to be impacting.
Thanks.
Thank you. That's a wonderful question. And I have to go back to the Constitution of Canada in order to answer the question. The way in which our country has been set up, and it's in our Constitution, we have a division of powers, and education is within the power of the provinces and territories. It's not within the power of the federal government. Now, I'm delighted that we have on the call the chair of the UNESCO Teachers Network in Canada, who also works internationally, Estelle Lamoureux. And what we know is that we can do our best to raise the level of interest with those that have the power and the authority to talk about better education in our school systems. It's not something that can be dictated or done from the federal level. So I can't do it in my bill, but the bill could become a really important galvanizer and communicating device to be able to raise this with teachers organizations, schools, provinces, territories, and to have, I mean, in many of our provinces and territories, we already have civics education. Much of it does have an orientation on the way that politics or the way our governments operate. But in order to bring it into the curricula of our schools, it needs to happen. It can't happen from the federal level. So that's why it's not in my bill. However, there are ways with the language in the bill to be able to make it clear that this is a very important activity that needs to be supported wherever possible. So I hope I've been clear about that in terms of who actually has the power to change the curricula. And I'm going to ask if there's anything, if Estelle, if we could just identify yourself, Estelle, so that people and teachers and students that are on the line know and know about the incredible work that you're doing, and that I'm sure you'd be happy to hear from people to talk about this aspect from the question from Bishop Strachan in Toronto.
Wonderful. I saw Estelle giving a wave. Thank you, Estelle, for joining us today. I know she's going to try to log into as many of these as she can, because UNESCO itself is very interested in the voice of Canadian youth and what they have to say, what they think of these issues. And so it's wonderful to have such two strong champions. The Senate and UNESCO, ASP.NET Schools are just such advocates of youth voice and expression of that. So we have a question because Senator McPhedran will hopefully join us for as many weeks as she can align with her calendar. They might come, they might go, but she does intend to come to more than one. Maisie, however, is only with us for today. So I'm going to jump to a question for Maisie. And it comes from our friends in Calgary. And they're wondering you were saying and it ties, I guess, to Senator McPhedran's question. You were saying that there's not a lot of education around politics in your classroom. So how did you become so passionate about this? Like, how did this become an issue for you that you thought that you were strong to advocate for voting age change?
I've grown up in a family that's very politically active. My parents, they've never gone a year without voting, and they've always tried to encourage me to have an opinion, and I'm very opinionated. I've actually got a podcast called Young, Female and Opinionated. So actually a plug for my podcast. If you want to listen, go for it. It's on Twitter at YFO_podcast. So yeah, I guess I've always just had an opinionated nature. And then knowing that Wales was establishing a youth parliament, I thought, why not get involved? It's so important that we use our voice. And I think I said this in the last webinar with you guys from Canada. I said that it's their duty to listen to us, so make them hear our voices. It's so important that we make sure that the people in the Senate and Parliament listen to us, because that's their jobs. It's so important. So I guess, yeah, I guess I've just always had that sort of drive in me.
I think we sometimes forget that, right? That our public representatives are responsive to us, and
I think they often forget it as well. I mean, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but in the UK, we notice that they often sort of work on their own agendas, and they forget that they represent the people who live in their areas, and that's what democracy is. And so it's important that we use it as a tool for sort of getting your voices heard.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mariah, you've been waiting patiently. Thank you so much for that, Maisie. Mariah, over to you with your question.
Hi, so I'm not sure. I just wanted to apologize because I've never used the raise your hand function before. So if you got it a few times, anyways. I actually have a question for Maisie. It was kind of already answered on our perspective and how we're going to start things, but I was just curious how you kind of got started, because we obviously have the end goal, but there's so many things in between there that we've got to figure out. So I just want to know where you started.
Okay, thank you for your question. I mean, I guess we started with research, and you're right, it's easy to have that sort of end goal, but having sort of actions to take to get there, it's difficult to pinpoint those sometimes. And I guess, like I said earlier, it's research. You need to base your views on evidence. And Senator McPhedran was saying that they've been able to go against those negative views with research and say that, well, actually, our research shows the opposite. And it's true, you need to use evidence as the sort of basis for your views, and you need to, well, when people come at you with negative or pessimistic views, you need to say, well, no, actually this is what we found, and you can't exactly say their opinion is wrong, obviously, because we need to show tolerance, but you can show that your research shows otherwise. And I think that was important in Wales, that we found a group of young people, including myself, who were really, really passionate. I've also just realised it's getting dark in here, so I'm sorry that it's dark. Our clocks went back recently, so it's all dark really early. But yeah, I guess that's what sort of happened. We got the research and then we campaigned, we pushed for it.
Wonderful. Thanks, Maisie. Okay, and over to our friend Catherine in Calgary.
Hello, I know we're losing time, so I'll try to speak a little quickly, but this is sort of referring to a previous question that Senator McPhedran answered about implementing more information about political in classes. So I am a member of the Alberta Youth Ministers Council for the Minister of Education. So in my meetings with the minister, is this a good place to ask her about implementing more knowledge, or should I go to another level?
It's, Catherine, it's perfect. You're perfectly situated, absolutely perfectly situated. It's so wonderful to hear that you have this avenue. And please let us know, let me know. It's super easy to contact me, by the way, everyone. All you need to do is just Google Senate of Canada or just Google my name, and all the information about contacting me comes up. And my email is really simple. It's just marylou.mcfedrin@sen.parle.gc.ca, which is the Senate, the basic Senate email. And we're here to be supportive. I mean, I'd love it if every single young person on this call became a member of my youth advisory. You're all totally welcome. But even if that isn't where you want to go with it, if we could just answer questions, provide resources, we're here to do that. And really, really thrilled to hear from you.
Wonderful. And I mean, at the end of this project, Catherine, you are going to have a whole lot of voices from all over Alberta, but also across Canada that say, we want this, we want these changes. And even if the vote doesn't happen, we want to be more equipped with knowledge so that when we can vote, that we are making these informed decisions. So unfortunately, we do have to, Senator McFedrin's team is sharing all of her contact details there in the chat. So I'll make sure to download the chat as well as with the video. So everything will be available on the classroom. So reminder, get online. We need to see you online. And don't feel bad if you aren't able to, given sort of dates, like this is the topic that we'll be sort of talking about October 26th or November 2nd or the dates, but don't feel bad if you have to miss a week and come back for another, or you want to jump ahead. Just get online, share your opinion, share your thoughts. That's what we need. We need to hear from you. We want to hear from you. As well, we will see you next Monday for another lively discussion event. Come with your thoughts and your feelings, and we'll be reaching out to all of you to share what you've been working on and what you've been thinking about. So make sure that you have someone at your school who wants to share or represent your group or ask questions. That'd be lovely. Thank you, Senator McFedrin. Thank you, Estelle, for joining us. Thank you, Maisie, for joining us and sharing the amazing work you're doing in Wales. I'll encourage you, Maisie has a very active Twitter. And I know we all say like Twitter, that's for old people like me, but that's where all the decision makers are. That's where the conversations are happening. And so that is why Maisie's on Twitter, is because that's how you get to talk to Senator McFedrin. That is where the decision makers are. So follow Maisie, contact Maisie. I'm sure she'd be happy if you DM'd her there to answer any more questions you have. Thank you for joining us this week. We are so excited for the next few weeks ahead of us. If you have any questions or problems, reach out to your teacher. They'll reach out to me. Thank you to your teachers. Oh my goodness, if I could give you all big virtual hugs. You are taking on this project in the midst of a crazy time, and you're helping give voice to your students. So I know they appreciate it. And please know that myself and the Senator appreciate it. And we're so excited to work with you over the next few weeks. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you online soon.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you so much.
very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, Maisie.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, Winnipeg. Bye, Alberta. Bye, BC. Bye, everyone.